Hey guys, we are back with some more New York Islanders franchise mode, and in this one, we are in the year 3 free agency, I believe it is, heading into year number 4. Into year number 4, we do have some free agent signings to make, and big ones at that. So let's get right to it. I'm going to start out with the rather smaller free agents that we're going to be going after. So we need 2 goaltenders here as we release both Keith Kincaid and, Thomas Greiss, and we're going to be going after Keith Kincaid once more, as he only wants $2 million, and I would say he's pretty solid as a backup goaltender, even for $2 million. I mean, he proved he could play, so we'll give him another contract, only for 1 year. Yeah, well, I'll just say $2 million for 1 year. I don't think any other teams are going to send him any other offers, especially in the first few days of free agency, so we'll send him that. So there's Kincaid. We are also going to be renewing or reapproaching, I suppose. Where is he here? Casey Cizikas, as he was a very solid centerman for us over the past few years, and has been with the Islanders organization for quite a while now. So we're going to get him back, as he is a very good faceoff guy, 50.22% on the faceoffs last year, and the year before that, 53.23%. So I see no reason to get him back for the 4th line, and he's a good veteran, good depth. So $2 million for 1 year, same sort of thing as Keith Kincaid. Now here's the big ones. For defensemen, we are going to be going after Brady Skjei. He is very expensive. He wants 7.1 over 6 years, which I don't think we could afford, especially with the huge contract of Matt Barzal coming up, which I'll show you guys in a second. But he's a very good all-around defenseman. He's been playing on likely the Rangers' top 2 defensive pair for the past 3 or so years, which would be the entire simulation so far. And he had 43 points last year, 36 assists, 15 power play points. So he was clearly New York's best defenseman. Had a lot of hits, a lot of blocks. Takeaways and giveaways aren't too bad, so I see no reason not to go after him, because my plan for Skjei is that he will take the top 2 place that Pascal Duret will occupy later on in his career. But for right now, while Duret is a rookie and still developing, that's where I want Brady Skjei. So what do I give him here? 6 years. I don't like that. I don't like it. No, I don't like that. I'm going to give him 4 years. And oddly enough, his asking price does not go down until you give him 3 years. So I'll give him 4 for, let's say, I was initially going to give him 7.6, but I feel like since he's the top defenseman in free agency, and since there's already 3 other teams approaching him, I'm going to give him 100,000 more. We'll go 7.7 for 4 years, especially since he's a great all-around defenseman. I'm guessing that he's an 86 overall, just based off the current status of his scouting bar. It's at 3 currently, and it says he's an 87. I think he's an 86, so I'll bank on that, and we'll offer Brady Skjei a contract. Now, the big one, John Gibson. We need this guy. We have Jason Hutchinson, who we are hoping is going to be the future of this franchise, but he's only a 67 overall. He did grow 10 overall points in 1 year. We went from a 57 to a 67, but it's still going to be at least, I would guess, a couple more years before he is ready to take over the starting position, and if not, like 3 or 4 years. So that's way too long for my liking. So we're going to be going after John Gibson here. He's been very solid in the simulation so far. 915 save percentage in year 1 in 49 games. I'm guessing he got injured. 926 in 75 games in year 2. And then in year 3, this past year, he had a 917. So he's been pretty consistent. He had 11 shutouts in year number 2 there. So he's a very solid goaltender. If we take a look at his playoff stats, unfortunately, he has not been past the 2nd round, it appears. But again, he's been very solid in the playoffs for Anaheim there. 930, 920, 925, and then 909 there. Fair enough, but, you know, that could have been his team, you know. So for the most part, he's been a very solid goaltender. So we're gonna have to go after John Gibson here. And the surprising part is he only wants 5.9 over 4 years. This is why I signed Brady Skjei, or why I approached Brady Skjei for 4 years, because I kind of knew about Gibson, what Gibson wanted in his contract length ahead of time, as did some pre-scouting. So we're gonna give Gibson 4 years at, let's say, 6.4. That should honestly do it for him. And if we could get Gibson for 6.4 at 90 overall, that would be amazing. While, of course, we're waiting for Jason Hutchinson to develop. So there you go. John Gibson has received our offer. So now what we have to do, we're going to go out of free agency here. We're done with all the free agency signings. Those Skjei and Gibson are two huge signings for this organization. Now, the thing that we have to worry about here, as I mentioned earlier, is the huge contract of Matt Barzal, and I mean huge. I mean, this guy, with only 3 years, wants pretty much as McDavid. And that's for only 3 years. And I was considering getting him up to 8. And just, he absolutely skyrockets. $15.8 million per year. But you know what? He deserves it. I can't say no. I mean, this guy's the face of the franchise, so you kind of have to, you know? So we're going to give him $15.5 million over 8 years. My goodness, that's 15.5 per year over 8 years. There you go, Matt Barzal. Hopefully that's good enough for you, because that's quite a bit of money there. All right, now Josh Ho-Sang is an RFA still, but this should be his last term of RFA, of being an RFA, as he is 25, and I believe, yeah, that would be quite a few years in the pros. So this should be his last term as an RFA. So if we give him, I would say I'd be comfortable with giving Ho-Sang 4 years. He's been very good for us. I mean, 42 assists last year, 58 points, career high. So I think he deserves the raise. We'll give him, yeah, as I said, 4 years. We'll get all these guys, other than Barzal, of course, on 4-year deals. And we will give Ho-Sang, we'll go 6.7. We'll see if he accepts that for 4 years. There you go. And now, one thing's for sure, with the huge contract of Matt Barzal coming up next year, kicking in next year, rather, I should say, we are definitely going to have to unload some salary, and that's definitely going to include Clutterbuck. Thank God his contract's up next year. And then Pelech as well, I would say. Mayfield for sure. I want to see if we could trade Mayfield. That's not a good contract right there. I don't know if I signed that. I don't think I would have signed Mayfield to that. That's not usually the kind of contract that I give out to a 77 overall. So I would imagine that is either a Lou or a Garth Snow signing. So let's see. Johnston as well. I don't remember signing any of these guys. These guys must be like, yeah, Lou or Garth Snow. So he will also be off the books once next year rolls around, so that is good to know. And let's see, defenseman. I would imagine Scandella might be off the payroll next year as well, because we have way too many huge contracts now coming up, and as well, you also have to worry about the contracts of guys like Mike Commodore, guys like Ragnarsson, and then of course you also have Andreas Mueller, who is up in 2 years, I believe. And then you also have our guys in Durat and Strite, who we have to worry about in 3 years. So, you know, you can't have all these huge contracts rolling around. But luckily, we do have that 4 years on every one of these big contracts that were handed out, so that once the contracts to guys like Mueller and then Strite and then Durat eventually are handed out, we can trade away guys like Skjei at that point, hopefully, and maybe even Gibson if guys like Jason Hutchinson develop, but I'm talking way in the future here, so let's worry about that when it happens, and let's worry about actually signing these players first. As I'm talking as if we've already signed these players, but we really haven't. We need to sim a few days to find out if we have. So now we're going to make a couple of trades here. As I did mention that I want to trade the salary of Mayfield, as that is a little bit of a concerning contract, or at least it was. I mean, I would imagine, because when we started the GM mode, what was this? Did Lou or Snow sign Mayfield to like a 5-year deal or something? Because that I'm sorry, that does not seem like the kind of contract I would give to a 77 overall. But we'll, regardless of who signed him, we'll try to trade him away here anyway. And then another guy we need to trade is Kiefer Bellows, because he is on an RFA currently, and he was just asking for way too much money in the re-sign stage, and that's just not money that I'm willing to give a player who has never played in the NHL before, and he's already 23, so I have a feeling that his growth is going to start, leveling out at some point this year, so I'll trade him while his value is high to a team that would want him. So let's see. I mean, obviously nobody wants Mayfield, but can maybe give a team, maybe like Ottawa, they're a rebuilder. Maybe they would need Bellows, let's see. So if we sort by overall here, I want to put him on a team that would actually be able to give him a chance in the NHL, like maybe Edmonton. Yeah, I think Edmonton for sure. Yeah, Edmonton. Edmonton. Look at this. Like, they have 70, 71, 75 here in the NHL. So I think Kiefer Bellows could definitely get a roster spot there in Edmonton, and they're still rebuilders. Jeez, man. I mean, you got... They're so bad, dude. I don't know how do you fail with McDavid? They're so bad, man. I've actually been considering them being one of my next GM modes, but we'll get to that later. We're only going into year number 4 with the New York Islanders right now. But, geez, they're just god-awful. All right, so we'll take their second, I suppose, for Bellows and Mayfield. I might be able to sneak another second in there, maybe New Jersey's second. All right, so, I mean, that looks pretty fair. Proposed trade, too far off. I would imagine they're not too pleased with the contract of Mayfield. So I'll take New Jersey's second off of there. I'll get a Minnesota third. Proposed trade, let's see, too far off, okay. I'll get, let's see, Anaheim's fourth. So a second and a fourth for Mayfield and Bellows. Proposed trade. Trade accepted. There you go. So hopefully Kiefer Bellows can find a spot for himself on the Edmonton Oilers. And they obviously need the forward depth help. I mean, he's already slotting into, what is this, their top 10? Let's see, this is 3. Their top 9, actually. So, yeah, I think Bellows would be able to find a good spot there for himself on the Edmonton Oilers. It just wasn't happening for us because we already have guys like Christian Ragnarsson, who's coming up next year, Mike Commodore, who earned his roster spot last year, and then, of course, he got Bennett Strite, who we just drafted, who will probably be fit right into our top 6. So, and then Wallstrom as well. We have a lot of scoring wingers now. I don't think Bellows would be able to fit into our organization anymore, so that is why we traded him. As well as just he was asking for a little bit too much money. So that'll be about it in terms of what we're doing currently. So let us simulate to see if we get guys like Brady Skjei and John Gibson. All right, here we go. Crossing my fingers. We really need John Gibson. We really need John Gibson. I mean, I'll be disappointed if we don't get Skjei, but I'll be really disappointed if we don't get John Gibson, because that is critical. All right, Keith Kincaid and Casey Cizikas. All right, I mean, no surprise there. But will we get Skjei? Will we get Gibson? Yes. Welcome to the New York Islanders, John Gibson, baby. Welcome. And Josh, oh, okay, all right, there you go. Josh Ho-Sang has re-signed for 4 years. Matt Barzal has re-signed for 8 years, $15.5 million. Jeez, man. And Brady Skjei has accepted as well. There you go. All right, we got everyone we wanted. And I think there's nothing much we really need to do here in free agency in year number 4, as we've already had or year number 3, I should say, as we've already had quite the free agency. So if we take a look at our roster now, defensively, you got Skjei, Pulock, Dobson, Scandella, Pelech. I would say Wild should make the jump next year. So I'll count him as 6. And then Durat. I'm hoping that Durat will be able to crack the roster. If not, again, we could always trade for someone like a top 6 defenseman to take his place while he develops in the AHL, or not in the AHL, in juniors, as he is not old enough to play in the AHL. So, yeah, I'm liking what we have so far here on defense, in terms of improvement anyway. And then, forward-wise, you got Barzal, Mueller, Hosang, that's 3. Here's 6 in Lee, Beauvillier, and Wallstrom. 9, 10, 11, 12 technically in Del Cole. I mean, he could play this year. He's a depth forward, 78 overall, so he's not too bad. He could definitely be, at the very least, an injury player. And then in the system, Tim Cizek is really going to be making a push this year. I think one more year in the AHL would do him some good, as he played on the 4th line last year, so maybe some first line minutes down there in the AHL would make him grow very well. And then Ottoson actually got a huge jump as well. Remember, he was on the 4th line as well, and he's now up to a 74, so maybe get him on the first line with Cizek. And then Raphael Pouliot, I think he had a pretty decent growth year as well, didn't he? Yeah, he had 72 points there in the queue, so that's pretty solid for Raphael Pouliot. And you got Pekka Räinen. Let's see, who else? Well, obviously Bennett Streit. So, I mean, he's basically the same sort of thing as Andreas Mueller. I would imagine he makes the roster next year, and not only just makes the roster, I would imagine he cracks the top 6. So, yeah, that is all good there. That should be 13 skaters for the NHL roster in terms of forwards, and then you got 7 for defensemen. So, and then goaltenders, you got Gibson and Kincaid. And then in the system, you got Hutchinson, Skarek, and Rodin's not signed, but Soderstrom as well, who we don't even know the overall of anymore. So he's basically our 3rd string goaltender for the NHL if we need him. So that'll be about it for your New York Islanders in the offseason this year. Though we do still have the cap space of $28 million. That cap space is not going to carry over to next year. I can guarantee that. As you take a look at the contract of Matt Barzal, that is a huge increase. I guess those are the consequences of a bridge contract. Yikes. So going from 7.6 to 15.5 for the next 8 years after that. Oh my goodness. And then Josh Hosang got quite the increase as well, going from 4.6 to 6.7. So I wouldn't imagine we'll be able to go too crazy with all the trades this year, at least in terms of long-term deals, as we do have those contracts to worry about for next year. But for this year, we can always do a little bit more technically, as we do have some more cap space to work with. So maybe we do go out into free agency, get someone who I was looking at Ovechkin and I saw the 2 years that he wants. So, I mean, that's not all that far-fetched to go after Alexander Ovechkin, because he did only want 2 years. But then again, I feel like Ovechkin would be someone you sign for, like, you know, another 4 years or something, just to carry out the rest of his career. But then again, I also want guys like, you know, Bennett Streit, Mueller, Wallstrom. We already have so many scoring wingers. It's ridiculous, honestly. So I wouldn't say Ovechkin's the guy we go after here. I would say, if anything, we go after maybe some depth, like maybe depth centers, depth wingers, or depth defensemen even. I would say we need, certainly need a little bit of help on defense. Yeah, you know what? Let's go after a depth defenseman, because I don't want to have to make a trade if I don't have to. If we have to send down Pascal Durat to the juniors. So let's get a solid veteran defenseman here, like maybe Ian Cole would be pretty solid. Let's take a look at his in-depth stats, plus 13 last year. And let's take a look over here. 68 giveaways, 21 takeaways, 110 hits. So, I mean, he's definitely a physical presence back there. I think if you limit his ice time, he'll do pretty well for you. So, yeah, let's sign Ian Cole's a veteran presence back there on defense. 1 year at, we'll go, I mean, we can technically overextend this contract a little bit here because we got $28 million to work with. And I do want to have some breathing room in both directions. So we'll give him a little bit of a surprise contract here. We'll give him $5 mil. Why not? Because we can. Because we have, as I said, 28.5 in cap space. We have to sign a couple more guys here anyway. So let's do that. Let's get some depth wingers here. We may as well get Justin Williams back. But then again, I do want the young guys to play. But I guess, yeah, you know, again, Williams would be the kind of player who just goes in there for an injury. So I'll give him another $5 million. There we go. So there's $10 million off the books. That would take us to 18.5. I want to sign one more $5 million deal just so that we have a little bit of breathing room in terms of the cap floor and the cap ceiling. So let's go after a center here. Maybe Cody Eakin. Let's see his face-offs. I know he was pretty good for us last year in NHL 18. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Eakin's the guy. Eakin is definitely the guy we want to give this next contract to. So 1 year for $5 million. There you go, Cody Eakin. Let's get you on the team as I continue to vamp. As the numbers go up, there you go. $5 million for 1 year. There you go. Okay. So, actually, one thing I may have forgotten. Yes, scouts. So who do we release? Let's take a look at this again. All right, so we need one NHL scout. Hopefully there's still some good scouts available. Oh God, why didn't I do that on July 1st? Completely forgot. And then we also need another Canadian scout, WHL, OHL. So we need a QMJHL scout and we need an NHL scout for it looks like the Western Conference. So we go into hire scouts, hoping that there's some good scouts still remaining. Also, Sorrell's looking pretty good for the Western Conference. So we'll get Stefan Sorrell and just give them the max contract. There you go. All right, so there's our NHL scout. And let's also go for, what was it, the Q or the dub that we needed? We'll just go after someone in Canada. So Festarini, Bear Festarini is a B. Yeah, we'll just go after Festarini. I mean, I'm sure he's not terrible in the other Canadian leagues. Actually, he is. He's actually more of a, yeah, he's an OHL scout. Okay, we'll just go after Festarini here. There you go. There's the scouts taken care of. I wish I had thought of that earlier, but better late than never, I suppose. All right, so let's simulate a few more days just to make sure that we get these scouts under contract. And there's Sorrell, and there's Festarini. So there we go. We are all done. And there's, of course, Ian Cole, who I forgot about, as well as the other depth free agents who we signed, who have not, well, who we approached, who have not signed yet. So let's get those done. Justin Williams has signed, and Cody Eakin has signed. There you go. Okay, so we are now ready to move on to year number 4. Let's do it. All right, so we are at the start of year number 4. Let's check out the rosters. I mean, not that, you know, we could see any overalls here anyway, since Fog of War. But just for reference, let's take a look at our roster. So Gibson and Kincaid. Then you got Hutchinson, Skarek, and Soderstrom in the minors. Actually, let's call up Soderstrom at the moment, just so we have a third-string goaltender to replace if need be. And then we will call up Durat. Right. Player limit. So, forwards, that means we have 14 forwards in here. So we'll get... Del Cole's being replaced once again, boys. Yeah, he's going down in the minors, and we will call up Pascal Duret. There you go. So that would be 7 defensemen. So Skjei, Pullock, Dobson, Scandella, Cole, Pellick, and Duret. Yep, that looks good to me. And then that would be 13 forwards. Yep. So Barzell, Mueller, Hosang, Lee, Beauvillier, Wallstrom, Williams, Commodore, Marlowe, Ragnarsson, Clutterbuck, Cizikas, Eakin. And of course, we gotta fit Bennett Strite in there somehow. So we're gonna have to call him up, and I would say we will send down Cal Clutterbuck, as we're gonna be releasing him after this year anyway. There's no way we can just hang on to all these contracts that we just can't afford. So we are gonna call Bennett Strite up. There you go. And let's see what the computer does for the best lines. So the computer will put Mueller, Barzal, Wahlstrom, Lee, Beauvillier, Strite. That's a good sign. He's already in our top 6. I mean, goodness. Ragnarsson, Commodore, and Ho-Sang. And then Marlowe, Eakin, and Williams. Who's scratched? That would be Cizikas. And then Pellick as well. And Soderstrom. So defensively, you got Skjei and Pulik, Cole and Dobson, Scandella, and Duret. So I agree with that for the most part. I want Scandella with Dobson, get that chemistry going from last year. Then Skjei and Pulik, yep, that looks good. And then Cole and Duret, I suppose. And then, let's see, I don't know about Strite on the second. I mean, I guess so. I mean, you know, he's basically the same kind of player that Andreas Mueller was out of the draft, so why not? But then again, you know, Ho-Sang's down here, that means. And Lee is a shooter, and I think Strite is as well. Jeez, we got a lot of shooters on this team, man. We might have to end up trading one of them, honestly. And I know Ho-Sang's a playmaker. Yeah, we'll just go with what the computer's saying for right now. I suppose, especially just in free agency, or free agent, what am I talking about? Preseason. We'll see how everything goes. We'll see the overall Bennett Strite and all that. And then we'll make our decisions from there. We'll see the new overall Mike Commodore. Hopefully he grew. Same thing with Ragnarsson. Same thing with Wahlstrom and Ho-Sang. All those guys. Like, look at all these guys who have the potential to grow on this team. It's great. Beauvillier might have even grown with the fantastic season he had last year. 61 points. I mean, jeez. Same thing with Mueller, right? He had a 62-point season, the Calder Trophy winner. So I would expect him to grow a little bit as well. Maybe an 88 overall for him this year. Jeez, man, this team, it's coming together, I'm telling you. And then in the minors, you got Czak, Clutterbuck, Del Cole, Ottoson, Petty, Bailey. We'll focus on the AHL later. So we'll see what these lines do in the preseason. And let's do the preseason in this episode. But then we're going to end it off as I am trying to keep the videos shorter than usual. Or in terms of what they've been recently, like nearly an hour long. So let's just do the preseason here. And hopefully we can get into a regular season game in the next one, as I do want to show the debut of guys like Pascal Duret and Bennett Strite. So there's a win against Washington. There's a win against Carolina. All right. Things are coming together here. Not going to play any of the preseason. Kind of pointless right now. There you go, 8-1 win. I mean, again, it's probably against Phillies rookies, but I would imagine they have some veterans in there at this point of the preseason. Usually later in the preseason, you start to see some more veterans getting ready for the regular season. So there is a loss against Pittsburgh in the last preseason game of the year. So Matt Barzal with 10 points. Nothing new about that. But let's check out the rest of our guys. 91 overall is Matt Barzal. Hopefully very worth that contract. Andreas Mueller, still don't have an exact reading on him in terms of his overall or role or even potential. But 6 goals in 7 games played in the preseason. The exact opposite of what he had last preseason. 6 assists and 3 goals. Now he has 6 goals and 3 assists. And a shooting percentage of 28.6. My goodness. All right, Oliver Wahlstrom. Still don't have an exact reading on him, but he had a very good preseason as well. Christian Ragnarsson, again, more of the same thing, but in terms of goal scoring, very good. 5 goals in 7 games. Beauvillier, again, the preseason isn't really doing much here for us in terms of seeing what these guys are all about. But Skjei had a pretty good preseason as well. 5 points in 7 games. He had 12 hits as well. I mean, you're not going to really do too much hitting in the preseason, so that's fair. Mike Commodore, 4 points. pretty good. Justin Williams, 3 points as well. Strite, 84 overall. There you go. Bennett Strite is an 84. So, again, more or less the same player as Mueller. Obviously not as good as Mueller, but more or less the same kind of player. So, not much to complain about there. Goaltenders, let's see. Gibson with a 903. And then Kincaid with a 935. So, he continues to be solid. And hopefully Gibson can right the ship there in the regular season. But that's what the preseason is for, is it not? So, we got a little look at what Bennett Strite is about. So, let's figure out the lines here for the beginning of year number 4. I would say Ho-Sang definitely has to fit into the top 6. I would say even first line, maybe. What about Lee? I mean, you got Strite, Beauvillier. I was thinking maybe put Strite on the left wing. And then Ho-Sang there. And then Lee on the first line. And then Wahlstrom is going to have to stay there on the third line for right now with Commodore and Ragnarsson. And then Williams, Eakin, and Marleau. And then Skjei, Pulock, Scandella, Dobson. Okay, so Durat is officially an 80 overall, so that's good. We can keep him in the lineup. And then Ian Cole. Special teams, you got Wahlstrom. Yeah, I'll leave Wahlstrom on the power play to make up for his lack of 5-on-5 time. And then you got Skjei and Pulock. Strite, Beauvillier, Ho-Sang. That looks good to me. Scandella and Dobson. Pulock, Skjei. Yeah, that looks good. I mean, maybe we could get some other forwards, some ice time on the power play there. Like, maybe replace Scandella. All right, who's currently on? Strite, Beauvillier, Ho-Sang, Mueller, Barzal, Wahlstrom. So Scandella, we will put on maybe Ragnarsson or Commodore. I don't think Commodore is on there. Or even Lee. Is Lee on there? No, Lee is not on here. So, yeah, let's get Lee on there for right now. There you go. And we'll leave Dobson on the right. Then Skjei and Pulock. Yep, all right. So we're looking good there. Barzal and Mueller. And then Beauvillier and Wahlstrom. And actually, instead of Beauvillier, I'm going to go with Mike Commodore. Give him a little bit of an increased role this year. And then Dobson with... I'll put Lee here as well. And then penalty kill, you got Eakin, Beauvillier, Skjei, Pulock, Williams, Commodore, Durat, Cole. I don't know about Durat just yet. We'll try him there, but, you know, not expecting too much out of him in this first season, especially as an 18-year-old defenseman. Barzal, Wahlstrom, I'll go Barzal, Mueller, and then Commodore with Wahlstrom, Dobson over here, and then Strite with Beauvillier. There you go. 3-on-3 is looking like this. Yep, that looks good. And then extra attackers, Barzal and Beauvillier. Shootout will be Barzal, Mueller, Ho-Sang, Wahlstrom, and Lee. And then goaltenders, you got Gibson and Kincaid, obviously. Scratch, Pellick, Cizikas, and Soderstrom. And there you go. Let's see what year number 4 has in store for your New York Islanders. And I will do all the AHL lines myself off screen. So that'll be about it for this one. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you guys in the next one.